Welcome to another episode of the Poultry Keepers Podcast. Providing your birds with a constant source of clean, fresh water is so important. Today, Carey, Blackmon, and Jeff Mattocks do a deep dive into poultry water systems to take the confusion and frustration out of this important topic. Now, here's Carey and Jeff.
We have what I consider a pretty important topic. We're going to talk about water.
That's
Jeff,
the
you
second
seem
most. That
so
is
exciting.
that is the second most important for all living creatures, right?
I've tried so many different watering systems over the years. You and I have talked about different systems that I've tried, things to try to make it different, things to try to make it better. So I figured, hey, look, you know what? There's people out there. I've seen a lot in the PK360 group and in the Poultry Breeder Nutrition group. A lot of people are getting chicks this time of year, or a lot of people are just getting into chickens this time of year. So I figured, hey, look, it'd be a great time to hopefully save them a lot of headaches and screaming fits, making up some 4-letter words, save them all that trouble, and maybe they can learn from the crap that we've been through.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But the reality of it is people have to work through their own iterations of mistakes. Okay. There's a very small percentage who actually learn from other people's mistakes, but that's all right. It's all right.
Well, we can give them some ideas and they can try it and see if it works or not themselves.
Okay, so the concept that I was bugging you about that you're going to talk about tonight is going to be mind-blowing for a lot of the people listening tonight. Anyway.
I gave you a lot of mess years ago about chicken feed, and I had to eat crow on that one. So this time when you're like, hey, you should try this, I was like, what would it look like? Okay. I like the concept. And to be honest, I have birds that are using that now. They're growing faster. They're healthier. Their combs and wattles are red while everybody else is miserably molten. And it works.
Wow.
Now, I will say this, turkey nipples and chicken nipples are different.
You don't use a turkey nipple for a chicken, right?
I was like, okay, look, I'll get these, I'll use these, and then that, and no. So I just raised my nipple line up high where only the turkeys could play with it.
They're not created equal. And, like a chick nipple is not the same as a mature bird nipple, right? They make specified to deliver a certain amount of water per peck, right? And like a layer nipple is going to deliver way more than a chick needs, right? And a turkey nipple is going to deliver a lot more than a chick or a chicken needs. So anyway, I know we're just teasing them with what we're going to talk about, but you can roll into it whenever you like. But
look, I'll say this. I'm a huge fan. So what got me into that type watering is that's all my quail use, period. Since brooder, they've never had anything else. When they go into the cage, they're on nipples. My pigs, it don't matter what you build a watering system out of, even a pig could tear it up. You get a stainless steel pipe, and a stainless steel nipple. They haven't tore that up yet. Now they'll sit and play with it.
Now wait, if you get it too close or you get it inside their pen fully, right, where they can, I'll find a way to destroy that as well.
So what I did was I've got it hanging from a tree inside their pen with a spring on it. And it's really funny because they'll be drinking from it and they'll want to get ornery with it and start fighting with it. And that spring to pull it right back out of their mouth. And when you see that, I'm going to set a camera up and hope I can get a video shot of that happening because it is hilarious.
Yep.
But anyway,
we're here to talk about chicken water.
Shit happens. We're going to talk about some hacks and stuff. This right here, this is a Jeff inspired slide because he don't care about nothing but quality. And I like that. You want the pH between 6.5 and 7.5. You want your water to be clear. Don't want it to smell like bleach or sulfur. Although I will say if you're on a well and it slightly smells of sulfur, you will probably never have a problem with mites or anything like that. Let's see, in the summertime, you want your water to be cool, 50 to 70 degrees. Now, some ways to do that. Lots of people use just the water tanks. Get you some 20-ounce water bottles and freeze them and stick them in there in the morning before you go to work. Or get you some large ice cube trays. One that works really well is in one of my chicken yards, I've got a lot individually pinned up and they have 1/2-gallon water cups. I have some that make 2-inch spheres and they're really cool. I stick one of those in their water cup in the morning and they go nuts. They'll peck on it for a while. So it gives them fun and it keeps their water cool throughout the day. That works. Now, for our friends in other countries that use the other system, 10 to 21 degrees Celsius is going to be where you want your water in the summertime. Now, in the wintertime, you want it 33 degrees, at least. Anything above freezing, they're going to love it. Just like we do. We'll be outside and come in and get us a cold glass of water or grab a bottle of water right out of the fridge. They like it too. Jeff, while you was out, I was telling them about making spheres to put in water cup or freezing bottles, or if they have a big enough reservoir that has a huge top, you can get 2 liters. You can get gallon jugs and cut the top off of them. Anything like that you can freeze a big chunk and put the whole chunk of ice in there. Put a large chunk of ice. As it thaws out, more water. They're good.
The bigger the reservoir, the bigger the ice needs to be, but to keep it cooler longer.
Yeah, because you can take a handful of ice and cool down a cup. But you're going to need a lot to cool down a 100-gallon tank.
Right. Yeah, you really need to be thinking at about the 10% or higher level, 10 to 20% of the volume. Your 40-gallon, your new system, I don't know how much we're going to talk about that, but your new system, they ought to be like 5-gallon block of ice. So if you're freezing a 5-gallon pail of water,
So the 5-gallon pail won't fit.
Come on. Oh, you design you do great with clearances.
Tank number 1, about the biggest thing you're going to get is one of those ice cream buckets. That's about as big as it's going to get.
But you can get it
now. I'm in the process to try to source some 30-gallon drums where the whole lid removes.
Okay. But aren't you using a 45-gallon trash can?
No, I'm using a 30-gallon drum.
Okay.
Let's see. RS has a question. How much does one laying hen drink on average?
Okay. It should be between 6 and 8 ounces per day.
Yep.
Water consumption should always be twice as much as the feed consumption by weight. So if your bird's eating 3 ounces, the average will be 6 ounces of water. If it's eating 4 ounces of feed, it'll average 8 ounces of water. So the rule of thumb is 2 to 1 by weight. And that's always held true. And when I see that is not actually holding out, it's a pretty good indicator that the water quality is not good at all. So the bird's not drinking its full regiment of water.
So the exception to that I have found is July and August.
It'll be higher.
So, on 100+ degree days, I guarantee you they're drinking more than 6 ounces of water.
Right.
They might be hitting 10.
And when you get cooler, you could drop down to 5 or 6 when they should be drinking 8. So that's a temperature based, that average like 75, 80 degrees. It's going to be 2 to 1. But when you're talking about extreme temperatures one way or the other, it can be off 1 to 2 ounces. And there again, like in the winter, it depends on how cool your water, or how warm or cold your water is. And the same thing, when you figure out how to chill your water for the summertime, then they won't drink that 10 ounces anymore.
Yeah. Would their poops be funnier on hotter days due to the water intake increase?
Yeah. On extremely hot days, they will increase their water intake, and you're going to get some droppings that just look more like a puddle, kind of greenish white, and they don't pump at all. That's okay. Yeah, it's normal.
Yeah. I'm getting ready to go out of town for a few days, and I was making sure everything was good in my yard, checking all my birds, and 9:30 this morning, it was about 85 degrees already. One walked by me, and why can't it just go somewhere else and do this? I don't know, but it just did it right there by me, and it was like nasty and green. And at first I was like, hey, that ain't supposed to look like that. But then I looked down at my shirt and it's soaking wet. Oh, it's really hot today. It's probably already been drinking a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. You want to avoid standing algae. You can add pieces of copper pipe, rotate your waters, clean them out every day or every 2 days. Containers with lids. If you're using some type of reservoir system to feed cups or anything like that, if you use black tube instead of a clear tube, that's better. Also, if you use a black bucket instead of a opaque bucket, sometimes when you get a jug and you can see through it, that's what I mean by opaque. And if you get a black one or the blue ones from Lowe's, no light really gets through that. The orange ones from Home Depot, I would paint those because light does go through those. But anything like that, make sure you put a lid on it. That is, the less light you can let get to that water, the less algae will grow. And if you put some copper in it, magic happens and you don't have algae.
Now, the copper, just for clarity, right, for people, that the copper works on the lower end of the pH spectrum. So if your water is up there at 7.5 or 8, you're not going to get the effect of the copper that you want, right? So you need some slight acidity to get that copper to break down. But just slow release. I don't want to say breakdown, right? People are going to start thinking about copper dissolving. The pH you'd have to get to for copper to really start dissolving is pretty low. At 6 or 6.5, it's going to have an extremely slow release, but it's enough release of copper to keep the algae under control. And if you've ever gone by a pond that looks blue or bluish green, they've treated that with copper sulfate, right? So copper is a very widely used algicide for ponds, pools, whatever. And
Jeff, you will be very proud of me. I made a purchase that came in the other day. Of course, I got it off Amazon. It checks. It's a water tester designed for drinking water, hydroponic, aquariums, that kind of stuff. and it checks for all kinds of stuff. So it'll give me a digital readout of the pH instead of having to use the pull strips, conductivity, which I think helps tell how much metal's in it. It'll do all kinds of stuff. I've only learned so far how to do one or two things with it, but I was like, Jeff would be proud, because I already use water filters on my lines that are outside. This just lets me actually see that it works.
All right, we got a couple questions.
Yeah, I actually asked if Dawn dish soap is okay to clean the waters. Do you prefer another cleaner?
No, Dawn's fine. And just make sure you rinse it really well. Don't get it too strong. Don't get overzealous with your Dawn.
Yeah.
But just make sure that you've got it rinsed really well so there's no soap residue. The soap residue is not going to kill them. It's not even going to make them sick. And what's going to happen is with some soap residue, you're going to see some runny boop, and then you're going to be all concerned that you got something else going on. And so it just, as long as you get them rinsed, you're fine with pretty much any type of soap is fine. I don't get carried away with a preference on soap.
Yeah, whatever you have, you recently switched to nipple water for wintertime. I saw most of them drinking from it. Should I remove their old drinkers now and force them to drink with the nipple water?
I would not. I'd give it at least another week. Joanne, don't be in a hurry. And even with winter coming in Ohio, similar climate as us, once a day you could figure out a way to give them a large volume of water, something like a rubber dish or a bowl or something, where you bring them warm water around feeding time. My birds really enjoyed that. Even though they had other sources, just the fact that it was warms them up right around feeding time. It was just a good thing to do. And I noticed in the winter, if I could keep the water warm up in that 50 to 60 degree range, they consumed a lot more of it. But when it getting down into the 30s, like a cold drink with ice in it, then it slows them down.
If you're cold, you're probably not going to drink freezing cold water.
Yeah. But
I did order some aquarium heaters to go in my water reservoirs that have a minimum temp, I want to say, of 50 or 60, something, one of those, which was perfect for me because I figured if I can keep it 60 degrees, that would probably be good.
Is it going to do your volume in your reservoir?
It's designed, the ones that I got is designed for a 100-gallon aquarium.
Okay.
So when I go up to the 30-gallon drum to use for the water, plus I'm going to say 5-ish gallons of water in the line, with it constantly circulating, it should still keep up with the temperature and keep it warm.
So I want to back up just for a second, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but when you talked about the black bucket, so you don't want light getting in the summertime. If you're going to use a darker color, it needs to be kept in the shade, right? Because if it's sitting in the direct sunlight, it's going to gather radiant heat faster than a lighter color.
Yeah.
And I just diagnosed this from the time I left the office till now. Someone contacted one of my feed mills and said, in June, all my hens quit laying, right? And he sent pictures of his setup, and he had 55-gallon black barrels sitting open in the sun on the back of his chicken tractor. Middle of June, they all quit laying. I wonder what the temperature of that water was in North Carolina in June.
So I tested that. One day, right after lunchtime, I had a bucket that it's not in use, and I did not put any ice in it. That water was almost 100 degrees.
Yeah,
it was in the shade.
You're going to peak your temperatures. That would be a really good piece of information to share with people at some point. But if you set that black bucket in, it doesn't even have to be full sun, but you put it in direct sun and you want to measure that at about 4 p.m., 3:30, 4 p.m. to get your maximum temperature to see where
it's got to be 100.
Because your water should be 55, 60 degrees coming out of the tap, depending on where you're at. I think it would be really interesting for people to know how much that water temperature can change in the course of a day. But anyway.
So what I can do is actually have a thermometer that's designed to go inside of a deep freeze, and the probe is waterproof. So what I can do is put it in and let it sit for a couple of days. It'll track the temperature inside of it, and we can see what that does.
See, here I thought you were going to tell me, like, let's put a meat thermometer, because all these fancy grills now that you can get this Bluetooth thing where you stick a meat probe in it.
Yeah, I don't know if that'd work.
And it'll just send the temperature right to your phone, wherever you are.
Yeah, on this system, it's made by Govee, and I can tell the temperature. I got another deep freeze, so I got another thermometer, and I haven't put it in yet, so I could stick it in the water, run that, and then hook it up stick it in the freezer. Let's see. I live in Ontario. When do hens drink their water? I expect frozen water is more important to have fresh water in the morning or the afternoon.
Actually, the first thing a hen does when she comes off the roost in the morning, she's got to have water, right? It's critical to have water. She's pretty dehydrated because she hasn't drank during that dark period while she was on the roost. And we're talking about winter. She's been without water for 14, 16 hours, depending on how far up in Ontario you are. So first thing she's got to have is water when she comes off the roost. Then she's going to eat, all right? If there's food available, she's going to eat. And then she's going to drink some more because there's a low level of salt and it's supposed to be in the feed. So there's going to be a little bit of salt in the feed. She's going to she also needs water in her crop to start softening and start the fermentation process. So she's going to need water before she eats and right after she eats. So whenever her mealtime is, we're going to have to make sure we have water available at that time as well. I'm guessing RS does not have any power to her chicken coop to keep the waters not frozen, but that would be a thing. And see, that's where your recirculation system, I hope you're going to tell people about it. We're already about halfway through, but the recirculation system with the tank heater in it shouldn't have a freezing issue at all.
Yeah, and for me, definitely not. I may see the teens for about 2 weeks in the wintertime. Now, up in Canada, I still don't think it would with the heater in it.
Depends on how long the line is. How far is the run?
Yeah.
And that's when you think about having multiple runs. But
yeah.
Yeah.
We've already talked about these. Bell drinkers, those are nice. They have a high flow, good for groups. They got to be level and you got to keep them clean. We talked about nipple lines, buckets. That's the cleanest because they can't drop stuff in it while they're eating. No food, no litter. With the nipple lines that I have hanging, I used 1/2-inch PVC to make them, and they can't even light on them. I have a string going right above them where they can't. Cup drinkers are nice, but boy, they like to break a lot unless you have the good ones. Continuous line systems, they're scalable, low pressure, filtration, can be used with cups or nipples. Here's some examples. The stainless steel one on the bottom is a turkey drinker. The yellow one is a chick drinker. The red one in the middle is a chicken drinker. The black one technically is for small rabbits, but it also works well with chickens. And the one that looks like a plus sign, chickens use it, but that's what my quail use. Well, those are some different ones. And any of these on the internet, the PVC pieces to put them in pipe, any of these will work with that. Also, with any of these, except for the turkey one, you can just drill a hole a little smaller than it into the water line and screw it into it and use it. Now, the turkey ones, they're really high flow, and the piece that goes through, if it bounces too much, that sucker will shoot through your water line and you'll find it at the end. Learned that the hard way. And it'll free flow when it does it. These right here, the ones with the yellow piece in them for the cups, those are the ones that I used in my continuous water line, because in the wintertime, there's little water inside the actual cup. They have to pack on that yellow piece in order to get it to come through. So, that works. The cup on the other side that has almost 3 inches wide, I put that on there because those are the ones you don't want to buy. Though they're cheap. All cups are not made the same. No. I tried probably 10, 15 different types of cups over the years. And once I bit the bullet and started buying the Rent-A-Coop cups, and I say bit the bullet because them suckers are the most expensive ones out there. But there's a reason for that. They last.
You get what you pay for.
You do. That's like the Cadillac of the cup world. We'll say this to you.
It's not just owned by Rent. I mean, there's other manufacturers that make a similar design for commercial use. But yeah, the one on the right is more for hobby farmers. It's meant to keep the price down, and it's not made to take abuse. But the one on the left,
you don't want it in a grow out pen for sure.
No, the one on the left I see used a lot in commercial scale, larger operations. So.
I say Rent-A-Coop because people can get on Amazon and search for Rent-A-Coop, but the company that actually makes those for everybody, I can't pronounce it. I have a person that I'm in contact with there because I order them in bulk from them. But yeah, they make them for all kinds of different companies.
So if you buy them in bulk, how much can you sell them to me for?
Less than what Rent-A-Coop sells them for?
That's not a number. Dang, we don't beat around the bush.
I don't have my price sheet in front of me, Jeff. They're not expensive though. Even though getting a carton of them shipped over here is about $290, they're still not that. If you buy 100 or more of them, they're about the same price as the cheap made ones. I do remember that off the top of my head. It's a couple bucks.
It looks like you can easily disassemble it and clean out somewhere inside.
Oh yeah, the red piece, you can twist it.
Twist right off.
You can collect them and throw them in the dishwasher if you want to. That's easy to do. And to clean the yellow piece, really and truly, if you stick your finger in it and you've got an adequate amount of pressure, then the water coming out that line will clean out the cup. Because, if you do like I did and build your line on a slant because you're putting it in a grow out pen and you're going to have birds of different heights, then sometimes the taller birds will be lazy and they'll go get it. They'll eat and they'll go straight to the water and you'll wind up with food in it and all that mess. But if you just stick your finger in it.
Wow, our time is up already, but we have more to cover on this important topic. So be sure to join us next Tuesday for part 2 of Poultry Water Systems. Until then, keep learning, keep improving, and above all, keep enjoying the birds you love.